Hello, this is Amos Tarfa, and I will be going through a book on my channel, Living Sensibly with Amos Tarfa, called Can Science Explain Everything by Dr. John Lennox. I want to talk briefly about who the author is and then a little bit about my background and just overall this issue or this discussion concerning science and faith. So, my background, I'm a medical physicist. I have my bachelor's degree in chemistry, and then I did a year of a PhD in chemistry as well. Had an opportunity to do physical chemistry as part of my training. So, physical chemistry in the graduate work involved learning about some quantum mechanics, some exciting stuff. So, that's my background. So, chemistry, philosophy, medical physics, medical health physics, and then a year of PhD in chemistry. I also have written and been involved in math curriculum writing now for about 10 years. So my book, Tools for Mastering Mathematics, is one that anybody can use. It's in the description section, and you can look at my channel, LifeSTEM Academy or LifeSTEM Academics, to see more videos about my mathematics training. I've taught or been involved in math for about 20 years at this point. So moving on, now I have Dr. John Lennox. He's a mathematician out at Oxford University. He actually debated Richard Dawkins. You might have seen that debate. He also debated Christopher Hitchens and a few other people in the New Atheism movement. He wrote a book called God's Undertaker: Has Science Buried God? That book is very good. It's a longer version of this book I'm holding, and then there's actually another book called Cosmic Chemistry. So all these books are dealing with something that is very important: the topic of science and faith, and how do they relate. So in this video, I'm talking about the introduction. So I've introduced myself briefly, and then I've introduced Dr. John Lennox. My current role is I'm the director of LifeSTEM Academy in Moorhead, Minnesota, and we also have a campus in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and then we provide online classes in mathematics to anybody. Even if you attend a traditional school, you can watch our math lectures and get our resources. So that's my background. That's his background. He's a mathematician. He does have training in the philosophy of science as well, and also in ethics. So Dr. John Lennox, Oxford University, got trained in Cambridge University. So, introduction. He talks about his life growing up. He's from Northern Ireland, and they had a lot of conflict as a nation. You might have heard about it in a season called The Troubles. They had situations where there was fighting. It got into levels of people being, shops being bombed and attacked, and his parents were actually impacted by that. But Dr. John Lennox was given an opportunity to actually read different types of books and learn from different people from different backgrounds. So if you've listened to Dr. Lennox, you would notice that he's very kind and gentle and humble in his approach. He has read a lot, and he actually speaks about 4 languages fluently. He has read a lot, and he's very good at just listening and responding to the issues that people bring up. So in the first chapter, or in the introduction, he talks about the fact that science, as it's described, is generally this thing that has been made out to be a force for good. It's solving problems, it's dealing with issues, and religion, on the other hand, seems to, in some cases, according to some people's definition, be something that is holding us backward and not helping us advance and make progress. Now, we have to always start with our definitions. What is science, right? Now, believe it or not, there's a field in the philosophy of science called the demarcation problem. What is science, and how does it work? Those are questions that philosophers of science try to answer. There's a whole book called What is this thing called science? You might think that the definition of science is settled and everybody agrees, but believe it or not, there's a view by Thomas Kuhn, there's a view by Karl Popper called the falsification dimension. There's other theories is to describing what science is. So I really want to encourage you, if you're involved in this debate, to make sure you establish what is science, right? And then when we talk about faith, what are we talking about? Are we talking about something that claims to have the details for the molecular structure for hydrogen? That's not what we're saying, right? So as a Christian, when we talk about faith and how it relates to science, this is what we're saying. And I'll land the plane with this in the introduction. As a Christian, what we're saying is that faith or Christianity gives a basis for why science can work by explaining that the universe had a cause for its existence, right? So there's something called the Kalam cosmological argument that talks about the origin of the universe. Then there's another argument called the teleological argument, which talks about the design in the universe. What Christians are saying is that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And because God made the world can be studied. That's what C.S. Lewis, who you might know from the Chronicles of Narnia, Mere Christianity, great English writer, that's what he would say, that there is laws in nature that can be studied. And that's where people went out to study those laws because they believed the universe had a lawgiver. So Christianity provides an answer to the question of the origin. Science can then give us maybe an explanation for how certain phenomena work. So Dr. Lennox would say that the cosmic chemistry, or the things between science and faith, should not be looked at as two things that are completely opposed to one another. As a matter of fact, here's what's interesting. It's not an issue of science versus faith. And I would agree with Dr. Lennox as well as Dr. Stephen Meyer on this issue. It's a question of secular humanism versus, or materialism versus non-materialism. Because some of the scientists of old, you might know this, you might not, a lot of those scientists of old, Michael Faraday, James Clerk Maxwell, Robert Boyle, Isaac Newton, they professed a faith as well. Leonard Euler, who was from the 1700s, he's actually the greatest mathematician by volume and most proficient of all time. So these guys had faith and they did science, and they did science well. Johannes Kepler, Galileo Galilei, we can go on and on. The point is, you can do science even if you're a person of faith. Does your faith affect your view or in the science you're learning? Not necessarily, but your faith gives you a basis for why the science you're doing should make sense, right? There's intelligibility in the universe. We can see mathematics at work in the universe because the universe has order and design. So that's what we'll be studying more of in this book, Can Science Explain Everything? Now, of course, the answer is no, science cannot explain everything. And I would say this as I land my plane. Science cannot explain everything, not because it has not had the time to explain everything, but because certain things are outside the realm of science and something else needs to provide the explanation. For the questions of origin, why are we here? Where are we headed? What is the meaning of life? Those questions, I believe, cannot be answered by science, not because science has not yet answered them, but because it's incapable of answering them. And that's where the Christian faith comes in. I gave a whole talk on this in Chicago, and I will leave that in the description if you'd like to watch it. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you follow me in the series, Can Science Explain Everything? There's 10 chapters. I'll try and do 10 videos, one for each chapter, and answer or summarize it and then give my take on it. Wonderful book for young people especially. Very good introduction to scientific apologetics. So let me know if you have any questions, but I will be explaining more. I do have a teachable course on science, faith, and reason also in the description if you're interested in that. Take care, thanks for watching, and have a blessed day.